Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Create Your Life series, where we help you maximize your potential and results in the area of personal development, entrepreneurship, and travel. And I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown.
Create your life.
Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
Ontdek jouw leven.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Create la vie.
Create your life.
Create your life.
Beautiful people, this is the Create Your Life series. I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown, and it is an amazing day. And it's a day that I'm actually super excited for because I got my people from California in the house today. And you know, I'm a California native from the Bay. And, you know, I'm super excited. This amazing entrepreneur and her business partner have actually flown in from California, and we are their first stop on this media tour that they are doing to talk about the amazing things that they have in store. I've had the opportunity to meet with them. I met her one time and was like, you know what, you need to come on the Create Your Life series and talk about, you know what I mean, the amazing thing that you've done. And she was like, you know what, if I come, then you got to bring my business partner because he's amazing. He got a great story. And I was like, well, you know, tell me a little bit more about this brother. She told me, and I got to admit that what she told me was amazing, but having the opportunity to sit and talk with this brother, I'm super excited to have him on and then have him on again another time. We already set that up, Create Your Life family. That's what I'm telling you. We're bringing you that realness. But before we bring this guest on, I got to read her bio. Talk a little bit about it. She is known as the Commercializer. And trust me, we're going to get to the bottom of that because I need to know what that means from the source. She's a strategy consultant, serial and social entrepreneur, advocate for technology, entrepreneurship, inclusion, innovation, social justice, and generational wealth, specifically within underserved communities. Come on, talk about it. She's an HBCU STEM graduate. Let's just talk about the HBCU right there, you know, because I'm a graduate of Clark Atlanta. Shouts out to Grambling State University for her. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, you know, Crimson and Cream Love, and the daughter of two formerly incarcerated individuals. At the age of 16, she and her younger brother were introduced into the world of what it meant to experience hardship, not knowing it would be a catalyst in helping her to fulfill her purpose. See, find a way to make one. 14 years later, 2 degrees, a certificate, and a contracting job with the National Aeronautic Space Agency. This young lady's passion for problem solving and establishing connections would turn her into a lead technology transfer specialist, contractor, and an executive board member for federal labs all over the country. She recently founded a consulting startup called the Commercializer, a strategic firm that actualizes independent inventors, intellectual assets, and monetizes entrepreneurs' ideas. In addition, she's the co-founder of a creative agency called Creates, focused on serving the men, women, and children both behind and beyond bars, including changing the narrative and stigma behind how society views people with criminal histories. Create Your Life family, please welcome Miss Janeya Griffin.
Yay!
Janeya, you got to say what's up to the Create Your Life family.
What's up, Create Your Life family?
Man, you got people on my IG. I mean, our Facebook Live is going in right now. People are loving you. Man, you got Elvira Garcia saying, I love you. Hello from Spain. Man, you got Gordon Gecko saying hello. Estelle Lett. They here for you. So I want to start from the beginning of your story. Number one, it was great to meet you at the Black Women Talk Tech Conference in February.
Likewise.
You know, just that meeting of the minds, cool people. But you said that in your bio, it says that you experienced some challenges early on in life. What were those challenges specifically? Did you go to foster care? Did you just raise your brother by yourself? And then what was the driving force behind you persevering? And of course, big sisters are cool. So, you know, also raising that little brother.
So one thing that I will say is that, yes, both of my parents are formerly incarcerated. They weren't gone for that long, but at 16, it's like...
pivotal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, luckily I had a car. And so I could, you know, still take my brother to school, make sure that he had, you know, something to eat, make sure he did his homework. And so it was just something that I felt like, oh, okay, I just have to do this. Because it was always instilled in us as family always take care of family. So it wasn't anything new for me. It was just that, oh, I didn't have my mom there to help me do it, or tell me like, Janeya, you need to go help William with his homework, or Janeya, I need you to take William to school. Like, it was just, you got to do this. So it was instilled early on, you know, that I had to take care of him, that we took care of each other. So it wasn't anything that I thought was different. Yeah. So even when I talked to people, I was like, I don't got a story. Like, I thought that's just what people did, right, you know? Like, if something happened, then, you know, then that's what happened. Both of my parents ended up working at my university, my high school. And then one day they was gone for a couple weeks. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on. We stayed with my grandfather. At the time, they were divorced or going through a divorce. And now I can happily say, after 14 years of being divorced, they are happily remarried. And my dad owns his own trucking business. My mom does low boards. Like, they're like this magnificent team, and they're living their best life. They just came back from the Bahamas, got a Beamer, got a house, like, got their land. My mom's out here doing gardening and, you know, compost and all this stuff. And I'm just like, this is what y'all deserve. Like, this is where it's at. So, from that point on, I really just decided that, you know, I just need to do what I'm supposed to do. I was an athlete. I played basketball, ran track, played tennis. So I wasn't really like out and about, you know, in the streets. And so I ended up going to Grambling State University. When I graduated, ended up coming back home, but my mom couldn't find a job. Mind you, this is while they were divorced, so my mom couldn't find a job. So I had to take care of her and my younger brother. And I would go to work. I got a job at the Sheriff's Department out in San Bernardino, driving an hour and 15 minutes each way for like $12. Like, not making anything. Yeah. So when I graduated, I couldn't even really like start my life. Like, I didn't start my life. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just living, just trying to survive. And on top of my mom, like, when are you going to get a job? Not knowing that she's going through depression, not knowing that she lost her self-esteem, and because she couldn't find a job, you know? Right. And so I just knew, like, in my heart, that I wanted to make sure that nobody else had to go through that. So I wanted to consult for felons to help them become entrepreneurs, so they didn't have to rely on anybody else to get a job. Do
you feel like that was one of the reasons why your mom was having challenges getting employed?
Yeah, because she's a beast. Like, her resume was stacked. Accounting, IT degree. It was bad. Like, and she would get into the interviews. They would hire her and then find out about her background and did it.
Be over for 'em.
Yeah, so it was just like, wow. And so for me, it's like, when I look at people who, you know, have a background or have a criminal history, it's like, that's somebody's mother or father or sister or brother. Like, I don't look at you as like, oh, you're a felon.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Why? Like, you're a person. And so I think that's the problem, is that a lot of times prison, they dehumanize people. And so when they come home, when they return home, society still treats them that way. So that's really what I'm very passionate about, is really, you know, how do we build that compassion and change that perspective for people who aren't directly or indirectly influenced by it or affected by it, to where they don't really understand, like, hey, this is a person, and the difference between you and this person is that they got caught. Because everybody literally is committing crimes, regardless of like the size of the crime. Jaywalking. Right. I mean, we talk all the time about, you know, indecent exposure. If you use the bathroom outside, that is indecent exposure. Right. It's a sex crime. You get labeled as a sex offender. And it's all based on what the officer at the time wants to charge you with. You know what I'm saying? So those little things that we take for granted every day, is just like, that could change your entire life. And how do you explain that to somebody?
That's powerful.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No. I mean, but it's real and it's authentic, and I can feel your passion in it. And I guess, you know, for me, one of my questions right now is that you had this sudden change that took place, right, with your parents both working at your school. How did you keep your focus, and who was like your advocate in your corner at that time? You know, when you parents is gone, and now you say your little brother is how much younger than you?
He was 6. He was 6
years
at
old
the time.
And you was 14, right?
Yeah. No, 16.
16.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're like 10 years apart. Mm-hmm.
So now you're taking care of a baby boy. You know what I mean? And you still got to handle your business.
Yeah.
So, like, how were you staying motivated in that time? And then how did it affect you also when you found out what it was, the reason why your parents weren't there?
So I didn't really find out until like later on, you know.
Later on, like 3 months. Later on, like 3 weeks.
Well, later on, like as I grew up, because I wasn't really, it was just something that happened. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything that I really put too much thought into it until I started like questioning, like, okay, why am I the way that I am? Good and bad, right? What makes me tick? What instances or situations have happened in my life that have kind of transformed like my journey and things like that and brought me to this place that I'm at right now. So when I really started to like ask those questions, then that's when I started to like get the answers and knowing, like I said, I didn't think that I had a story at all. And I'd be like, man, I ain't going through no hardships. Like I have my family here. Like, you know, my biological father died when I was 3. So like I never got to meet him, but I started meeting his side of the family and then understanding like how that dynamic worked. Started understanding how that dynamic worked and how that affected me and different things like that, different relationships. And when I turned 30, I went to find my grandmother, like literally looked her address up and popped up at her house like, hey, I'm looking for such and such. You know, your granddaughter. And because I decided that I wanted to go into my 30s with forgiveness and healing. And so just being very intentional about all of these things. Before I got a job contracting at NASA, I was working at the sheriff's department as an intern. And then it's like before that, it was like I wasn't really doing anything. I was just trying to make ends meet. I was just trying to pay the bills and help my mom and make sure that, you know, William had things that he needed if he wanted to play football or swim, or if he needed a car, or if he needed things paid for school. Like I was just trying to be there for that. And that's really all that I was focused on. And so that didn't really change until I got the job at NASA, and I was just like, I could breathe. Right. And
so when you...
No, go ahead.
Okay, so when you had that opportunity, when the job, so you've been at NASA for a minute then?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years in November.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's major. So to me, you know, you remind me of the ladies from Hidden Figures. You know what I mean? Who were doing their thing. At NASA, you know what I mean? Just the importance and the representation. You know what I mean? I think it's just so dynamic. But what happened to you? Or that helped you understand that you helped you get this awareness about yourself that said, you know what, I need to go and shift into forgiveness and understanding, you know what I mean, and self-awareness so that I could become this better version of Janeya?
I think so. One day, and throughout that whole process, like I had like my family still there, like my older cousin, and she's actually the reason why I ended up going to Grambling. She's also Delta Iota, my home chapter. Shout out.
Shout out to the Reds.
And so she's a part of that, and so like she had everybody basically like fill out admissions forms and everything to go, and so that's where I ended up going. Then I had my grandparents, of course. But one day I went to church and I just was like, I just need something. And I literally broke down at the altar like, God, I don't know what needs to happen, but I need something. This was before I got the job at NASA. And then like at that moment, I don't know, I just felt like this rush of like, everything's going to be okay. Like I can say for me, like I felt like I literally felt God's peace. And after that, I didn't worry about anything else. I didn't worry about nothing. Whatever happened, it happened. And I knew that it was going to be okay. Gotcha. And so moving forward, I was just like, okay, I figured out what my purpose was, because I would pray for like discernment and like, God, just show me what I'm supposed to be doing. And like 2 people, this is how I figured out what my purpose was. 2 people told me back to back, you're supposed to help people. And they said it in 2 different ways, but like, that's what I heard. And I'm like, okay, God, like, all right. So that's what I figured, like, that's my purpose. But then it goes a little bit deeper than that once I started being intentional about what my purpose is. Knowing what my passion is, which is establishing connections, problem solving is establishing connections, connecting with people, networking. I started applying that to every aspect of my life. So once I started being very intentional about fulfilling that purpose, whatever way that came, like, everything just started aligning. And so, like, I just started going with the flow. So ever since then, it's just been like, all right, like, this ain't my plan. I'm just going. God, what do I need to do today?
So to me, what I'm hearing a lot of is humility and listening.
Yeah.
Right? You know, being humble enough to ask for help.
Yeah.
And then being wise enough to listen when people are talking to you and helping you find your way.
And one thing I'll say is that my biggest thing is that I've learned to listen in the midst of chaos. So, like, there's so many things going on at one time, but if it's something that I just keep hitting that rock, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to be pulling from this situation? What am I supposed to be learning? What is the positive that I can pull out of it? And then how do I move forward?
Okay. So I gotta ask you an HBCU question.
Okay.
What do you feel like was the biggest lesson that you learned at Grambling that helped you to move forward? And secondly, how do you feel like the HBCU prepared you for life after college?
Well, going to Grambling State University, you learn to survive. I will say that. So I feel like, you know, just all the experiences that I went through, that prepared me to be resilient in everything, persistent, don't take no for an answer. You're going to get to run around a lot, but that doesn't matter because you need to get to your destination. And so you need to figure out a way to do that. So it definitely, taught me how to, you know, just use what I had and definitely get what I need to get done with what I had. So, that's the one thing. And then I think that, and I'll say that this works everywhere. So I used to be very, like, naive when I was, like, young and growing up. Like, everybody needed to be my friend. Like, I want you to be my friend. I want you to like me. And if you didn't like me, it's like, oh my gosh, like, what do I need to do for you to like me? In college, you find out people don't like you just because they got a problem. Like, that's their problem. That's not your problem. If they don't like you, they don't like you. And I think that still transitions over into business as well. There will be some people that aren't going to want to invest in you. Like, they're not going to believe in what you're doing. But that doesn't mean that you need to be like, oh, I need to, like, whatever it is that I need to get you to understand, then I'm going to do that to get you to understand. Like, no, stay in your own lane. Do what you're doing, and then they'll come along. And if they don't come around, then that's their loss. Like, I believe everything happens for you, not to you, but for you. And so just really having that mindset and that perspective and being positive about it, pulling out the positivity and everything is really what helped me to, like, keep moving forward and keep going down this lane that I'm on. Okay.
Now I got to ask you the question. I mentioned this when I was introducing you. What does the Commercializer mean, and why did you choose that as your tagline?
So I was like, I want to start branding myself. Okay. So my 9-to-5 is at NASA. I'm a contractor there for Jacobs, and I'm like, I want to start branding myself because NASA is not the end all be all. And I was talking to my line sister, and she was like, "Did you just say NASA was a stepping stone?" And I'm like, "Yes." Like,
let's go. Let's go.
I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life. You know, I mean, it's great. It's, you know, it's an amazing opportunity, but I have bigger goals. I have bigger dreams, and I decided that I wanted to go into corporate or government, whatever. I wanted to go into the industry to learn and get the experience and the credibility so that I could then break out and do my own thing and help my community and, you know, just take that experience and everything that I've learned back to them. So this is one piece of the puzzle. So yeah, wait, what was the question again? When I did the Commercializer. Okay, so I decided that I was going to build my own brand, and I was like, what am I going to call myself? Like, I don't know what to do. And so I'm like, well, what do? Like, I commercialize.
Okay.
Commercial technology commercialization, which is, I will break that down. So, which is basically like the government spends $150 billion, $150 billion every year on research and development. Out of that comes inventions. And so it's my job as a tech transfer specialist to take those inventions and find commercial companies to create commercial products out of them. So you think of GPS, memory foam mattresses, Siri in your iPhone, any camera, baby formula, the Chi flat iron for all the black girls out there. Well, I don't know, they're natural now, so they don't really use flat irons, but but yeah, so, you know, all of these different things that we use every single day that you really wouldn't realize that have stemmed from a federal lab. So essentially, this is intellectual property, this IP patents. And so now I'm like, okay, so what am I doing with this? I want to take this. I want to get independent inventors, like people who are at universities, or like my parents who like have come up with all these ideas that they can get patented, and then teach them how to monetize that. And not from just, we're going to patent it from a protection standpoint, but we're going to patent it so that we can license it to multiple companies so you can have multiple streams of revenue.
White label. Yeah.
So then I was just like, okay, well, nobody really knows about tech transfer. A lot of people are familiar with the commercialization of like Christmas or, you know, different things like that. And so, but what does commercialization actually mean, right? So if I looked it up in the definition, so to commercialize means to essentially like make a profit out of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm the commercializer. Like, so I teach people how to make a profit out of their ideas.
I'm loving it.
So that's what I am. I'm a strategist. I'm a problem solver. But I help you make money. Figure out how to make money off of your IP and your intellectual assets and things like that. And I'm really big on ownership, owning your own, and that's a whole nother conversation.
but a necessary one, and you know, the one that actually matters.
Yeah.
For me and a lot of my friends, I just got back from this entrepreneur summit in North Carolina, and a lot of the conversation was about, you know, there's like a handful of LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordans, but those franchises have been there forever. You can name the players that have played over the years for a franchise. So why are you trying to be? Why are you trying to be the player instead of the franchise? You know, the owner. So that ownership conversation is super important. For you, being a young lady of color in STEM, what have been some of your most challenging and most rewarding moments? If you can just give us one of each.
In STEM. So I go around and I talk a lot in terms of like, you know, with NASA and then the whole Hidden Figures thing. Like when that movie hit, everybody's like, oh, we want you to come speak at our school and things like that. And so I was just like, I don't know if I should be the one doing that, right? So like, yeah, I have a background in forensic chemistry, but I've never practiced like in a lab or anything like that outside of school, right?
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. You practiced at one point.
No.
In school, you did.
In school. I said outside of school. No, but there's a difference. There's a difference between going into a lab and being in an area where now you are, what's the word? You're competing with men in that space who are very interested in keeping like what they're doing to them. They don't want to share that, right? So I've never really had to, this is what I had to break down. Hidden Figures, whatever, really allowed me to be where I am and not have to go through what they experience.
Got you.
NASA doesn't play that, like, at all. Like, we don't there. I think I'm really blessed to have like the people that I work with because they're all a family. And so we never have to go through like, oh, well, she's a black woman and, you know, I don't want to, you know, make her, she's an angry black woman or anything like that. Like, we're really a family where we have these conversations about my hair and, you know, about different things that they're going through. And so they allow me to see it from their perspective, and then I can see it from, they can see it from my perspective. So we really teach each other a lot of things. But I didn't really have to experience a lot of what some of, you know, now I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because I know some people in the industry now who are like, yeah, like it exists in the labs, you know, in some of their tech companies that they're starting. Some of the men don't really believe that a woman can be doing this, you know, or be doing what she's doing. I won't say that it doesn't exist. I will say that I haven't had to face it yet.
I guess for me, the reason why I wanted to stop you is because I'm like, you know, sometimes people we all have imposter syndrome where we think, you know what I mean, where we sometimes question, oh man, they want me to come?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, stop. You did it before? Like, you that dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like somebody who go play basketball overseas and then somebody who play in the league. It might be two different levels, but you're still both professionals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? I'm just stopping you like Kobe.
Well, no, so
like,
I looked at it from the perspective of I didn't go through what they went through.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I shouldn't be the one talking to them about it, but I had to really think about it and say like, well, no, they went through that, so I didn't have to.
Exactly.
So that's what resulted from me. That's what resulted from me in doing that. And me and my line sisters, we got a group text, and you know, of course we got a group text. But this is what I put into the group, and they were like, Janeya, no.
Right,
So
you got this.
Yeah. So nah.
Yeah.
It's been a great experience. I loved the movie. I screamed at the at the actual screen, and yeah.
Nah, it was powerful. It moved me, especially when Taraji's character had the opportunity to finally. They were like, where does she keep disappearing to? And was she like black?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people don't understand, you know what I mean, what those battles are. And she kept the professional the entire way through, you know what I mean, and finally got her credit and all of that stuff. And man, that was powerful. Well, with that being said, you have this title, the Lead Technology Transfer Specialist Contractor, and you're an executive board member for the federal labs all over the country. That's such a cool title. What exactly does it break down and mean?
So basically a little bit of like what I talked about earlier is, you know, going out and finding those commercial companies to create the commercial products. So I license the rights to use the patents. So I negotiate those licenses. I put together the agreements. I work with the patent attorneys to get the patents. And then we work with a third-party contractor as well to do like the commercialization assessments, to look into the different markets and things like that, to find out where these alternative industries that these technologies can be used for, because they may have been created for one thing, but now the functionality of that technology is now able to be used in multitude of industries. So yeah, that's what I'm doing as a tech transfer specialist. I'm transferring technology outside of the federal labs.
Wow. So I'm understanding the commercialization a lot deeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you out here, you and your boss negotiating, understand this patent game. It's like, that entrepreneurship thing is in your blood, because you was talking about your parents, how they got everything flowing and stuff like that.
So I'll say something real quick about that. I didn't even realize that I was being raised to be an entrepreneur. My parents, when I was about maybe 10 years old, used to take us to this wholesale candy place and say, okay, I need you to pick out all the candy that you think your friends would like. What's the candy that everybody's eating, nowadays? And so we would be like, oh yeah, like this is the popular candy. And then in order to go out and play, we had to take like these little lunch pails on our bikes, and then we would go around the neighborhood and sell the candy to our friends. And then we would use that money for summer activities, like going to Knott's Berry Farm, or if we wanted to, buy something for us to have fun, like we would do that. So I didn't realize that I had a business when I was like 10 years old. Hey, it was insane.
The wisdom and the game that the parents give us, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know what I mean? You can't put a price on it. With that being said, we're going to cut to a break. Create Your Life, family. This episode is brought to you by Podcast Laundry, a podcast editing service that gives podcasters more time to be creative by handling the dirty work of editing and all of the behind-the-scenes work that podcasters hate. If you're a podcaster, check out our services and purchase a package today. Spend more time doing what you love and let Podcast Laundry do the dirty work for you. Visit podcastlaundry.com for more information. This is the Create Your Life series, and we're back. We got a caller. Caller, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, awesome. Caller, who are you? Where you calling from, and how's life?
I am William Thomas. I'm calling from North Carolina right now.
Okay, what part of North Carolina you in, Will?
Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm stationed at Fort Bragg. Okay,
awesome, man. What do you listen to the show? What you think of the show today, man?
I was going great. I'm just so proud of my sister.
Okay.
Aw, thanks, brother.
Yeah, like what all you've been saying, like you have taken care of me, and like I might get a little emotional, but yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. You made me do better in my life. Excuse me, sorry.
Don't be sorry, man. Don't be sorry.
I love you, William.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thank you.
Of course, you know I got your
everything
back.
you've done.
Man, y'all in here making me have an emotional moment, man. I'm in here trying to fight back my tears, bro. Vince, how you doing over there, bro? I'm like,
I'm feeling the same way you feeling.
oh, shoot.
I'm sorry. I know it wasn't a question, but I just had to put that out there.
We appreciate it. I think it's
I
important
definitely do.
for people to know how you impacted them. I think that's dope.
Yeah, most definitely. So, William, thank you so much for calling into the show, man, and feel free to call in anytime.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day.
Hey, you too. Bye.
All right. So, Create Your Life family, we back. We got Janeya Griffin here,
You're trying to...
and her business partner, Vince, is here as well, But, it's reality, man. When we are lining up, taking care of family and following our dreams and our destiny, man, we get to make impact on our people. And you can see the brother-sister love right there. It's authentic. I guess, Janeya, jumping right in, back off of the break, for me, I want to jump right into the dolphin tank so that we can introduce and bring Vince in so he could talk about this amazing thing that you are doing where you're really continuing to share that love and that respect and that drive that you instilled and gave to your brother to everybody else who might, be dealing with circumstances that such as like your parents did. So that being said, jumping right into the dolphin tank, what are your goal setting methods and how do you measure and make sure that you are growing every year?
So, let me get my my voice back together. So goal setting, for a long time, I never really set goals, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe in my mind I did, but everybody's like, oh, you need to write stuff down. You need to do this. And so I just didn't because I felt like I know what my purpose is, mm-hmm. and I know I want to fulfill my purpose. I don't know how mm-hmm. I'm going to fulfill my purpose. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to make the plan that would supersede God's plan. Mm. And so I just was very passionate about, like, when I wake up in the morning, God, what do I need to do today? Please guide me to where I need to be so that I can fulfill my purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And so... Actually, I'm going to shout her out. I think her name is like Sincerely Tina B or something like that on Instagram. She posted this video and she was just like, essentially, she needed to start writing down what her goals were. Mm-hmm. And write it down and make it plain, right? Mm-hmm. But I was just like, I just didn't agree with that because I was just like, I don't want it to be, this is God's plan. It's not my plan. Mm-hmm. And so she said one thing that really, really stuck with me. And it was, how do you expect to get to where you have to go if you haven't made a plan for how God will actually bless you? Mm-hmm. So God's plan is always going to be there. Mm-hmm. But if you're not making a plan on, let's just say, like, God is about to give you $10 million, mm-hmm. how are you going to spend that money to fulfill your purpose, mm-hmm. right? Like, so what are the things that I need to do so that God's plan can actually be put into action? Yeah. And I have to be prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. so then that's when I started like, okay, I need to write everything down. And we talk about like manifestation and things like mm-hmm. that. When I met Vince, he didn't know, but I told him that I had this sticky that sat on my desk for like a year and a half mm-hmm. that said that I wanted to consult for felons to teach them how to be entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. I never knew how I was going to do it, but then God brought me Vince, mm-hmm. and so this is what we're doing now. And so it's just write it down, make it plain, and it will manifest itself. And really just being intentional about that.
Okay. Well, I mean, with that being said about being intentional and stuff like that, we got to bring Vince into the fold right now.
Right.
Vince, I'm happy that you're here, man. Again, I had the opportunity to talk with you, and definitely understand, more of your angle and what you guys are doing with Concreate. So if you could briefly tell us, I know we got a couple more Dolphin Tank questions, but I feel like it'll be dope because you guys are working together right. to be able to talk about some of these things, together, because you got to, man, the plethora of knowledge that y'all both have together is insane. So tell us more about Concreate and how it even came about.
The relationship between me and Janeya, how it came about, or do you mean how Concreates was started?
Man, together, bro.
Okay. So essentially Concreates.com is a creative agency that does marketing, branding, PR solutions for big brands. We crowdsource the ideas and strategies from a network of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men and women across the country. So initially, like, we give them a chance to pay back restitution if they owe it. We help them do that. We pay them a real wage instead of the 17 cents an hour slave wages that they're paid to do labor in prison. And we teach them a transferable skill set. So when they get out of prison, they can say, hey, I'm the guy that worked on the Beats by Dre campaign, or I'm the woman that did the rebrand for eBay, or, whatever.
Okay. So a little bit about you, Vince. We definitely had the opportunity to hear about Janeya's story. Tell us a bit about your story and your background and why Concreates matters so much to you and why it was something that you felt needed to happen.
So initially, I ended up going to federal prison.
Okay.
I was sentenced to 121 months in federal prison. And when I went to prison, I just became an animal. I studied law, corporate law, real estate law. I read over 450 books. I wrote 3 books. I organized think tanks. And out of one of those think tanks is where Concreates was born. So we took an underwear company from doing about $50,000 in sales a month to $934,000 with only 2 campaigns. And I saw a problem, which was we didn't get paid the way I thought we should have got paid. And when you think about some of these mega corporations that benefit off of prison labor, that are making billions, hundreds of billions of dollars off of the backs of modern day slaves, I thought we could do this for other brands and we could pay without exploitation. And that's where Concreates was born. So from the inside out, I built a network of hundreds of minds that I can put on one problem to solve.
And through our conversation that we had earlier before coming into the studio, you talked about meeting someone while incarcerated and having a conversation with them and them helping you to change, your outlook and your perspective. Can you shed some light on that? What that conversation looked like and how it transpired?
Absolutely. So, I don't say this to glorify my actions before I went to prison, but I made a lot of money selling drugs. I ran my drug empire like a Fortune 500, and I ended up in federal prison, so I was around a lot of white-collar criminals, guys in the corporate space, and this individual who used to be an SEC agent, and he got caught taking bribes that he's supposed to audit the companies, and he came to me one day and was just like, I heard about you, you were just in an arbitrage, and I'm like, what is arbitrage? And so essentially what arbitrage is basically like if I buy rice in China for $1 a pound and I sell it to Jordan for $5 a pound, I just basically am a high-priced middleman. And that's essentially what I was in the streets. And when I was able to see that parallel between my natural raw talent, which was a businessman, and how to apply that into this corporate space, everything just clicked. And so that's what I did. I looked at other guys that were in prison who had been doing this thing for so many years and had this natural skill set and thought, how applicable is this to the creative space? And Concreates right now is a revolutionary company. Nobody's doing what we're doing.
I'm liking that. So from Concreates, you have the opportunity to come in contact with so many of these creatives, or people who have these amazing strategic and business minds. But I think a lot of times stuff just boils down to opportunity and exposure, right? It's sometimes you're just cursed by the environment that you're, of course, that you grow up in. What have been some of the most innovative things that you and Janeya have had the opportunity to see?
Come out of prison?
Yeah.
Listen, it's so many, right? It's so many.
Because you don't hear about this, man, and that's why I'm excited right now.
So let me give you this, right? This is what I can say. Because some stuff we're under NDA, we can't really talk about things that haven't been released. But so this particular company is a tie-dye legging company. It's actually called Tie-Dye Leggings. We're working with this, young kid. He's really good at e-commerce websites.
Shout out to Percy.
Percy Holtzman, that's my guy. So he gives us this creative brief and says, can you put your guys on it, and women too, can you put them on it to figure it out. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably put this in front of, 150 men behind bars. And he thought it was funny that I was sending a legging company that's for women to a bunch of men. Mm-hmm. So that's what we decided to create the ads around, the concept of men putting together a campaign for a woman's brand, right? Mm-hmm. And the ads that we came out was with a string of commercials called, the campaign title was They're That Comfortable. So imagine this, Black Friday, everybody's watching football. Thanksgiving, everybody's watching football. Men are sitting down, they got their jerseys on. The team scores, the men jump up. Everybody's excited. The camera pans down, you see the men wearing the leggings.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And then it comes up and it says, They're That Comfortable. That came out of prison.
Dude, that is awesome. That is funny.
Yeah.
I want to see the commercial.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that before they were incarcerated, they were these brands' consumers.
Right.
So they know what it is that they like. They know what it is, that they're looking for. And so being able to tap into that access, and they have nothing but time on their hands to be able to, come up with these strategies and different campaigns and ideas. And no company out here has 150 minds being dedicated to one problem for hours and hours and hours.
Right. And I think it's also just from a higher, philosophical aspect of the creative mind, right? And I know you talked about being spiritual, and I believe personally that our imagination is infinite, right? Mm-hmm. And if you talk about the universe or God or whatever your belief system is, this is also something that they intend to, that they say is an infinite thing as far as the wisdom or the connection to everything. Mm-hmm. And I believe our imagination is our connection to that that entity, right? And when you think about individuals who are like, oh, I used to have an idea, I had an idea for that very same product that exists. There's a connection that we can't see as far as our mind goes. And when you allow, we talk about intention, when you allow this many people to be intentional about an outcome of something, we're able to manifest that and make brands a lot of money and also pay these individuals. We can help them take care of their families while they're behind bars. And, that I think that's just an important thing to realize is the collective brain power that we're able to tap into that most people figure they overlook. This forgotten workforce is behind bars with nothing to do.
And they're brilliant.
Right.
We call it brilliance behind bars.
Love it. All right, so now I'm putting y'all both in the Shark Tank. In the Dolphin Tank. I'm putting y'all both in the Dolphin Tank. So what's the top tech that y'all are using to make Concreate's functions and run smoothly?
Oh, top tech.
And if y'all both got a different one, it's all good.
I'd say right now it's of course we like to use a lot of like the free things because we're still a startup, okay? Small business.
Trust.
But we're using Trello for like task and project management and things like that. But then Google Drive or Google Suite, the G Suite. It's been a lifesaver because they have so many different like apps and it connects to everything. It allows us to collaborate in real time with, some of the people that we're working with and just have everything all in one location. And even, I think representation matters, right? And so being able to put your best foot forward when we're coming at people and then you're coming with like, oh yeah, my email is at gmail.com, people don't take you seriously, right? And so even though they have like, you can buy these domains, that come with emails, everything is still not integrated. So I think there are a lot of companies that still use G Suite that are, not just initially startups, or they're a lot bigger than we are. But it is allowing everybody to kind of collectively interact and creating that infrastructure. So we use that for, our email system, our domain is linked up to that. And so now when we present ourselves to people, we look professional. We look like, hey, like they're actually, that's one less thing that they have to worry about.
Absolutely. Okay. Love it. Favorite quote or motto that you live by?
Oh, we did talk about this. So I have two. One is there are no problems, only solutions.
Okay.
And then I said it before, everything happens for you, not to you.
Vince?
If I'm gonna say a favorite quote, and I'm probably gonna mess this thing up. So Frederick Douglass has a quote where he says, "It's easier to." Well, I'm sorry. He says it's harder to build broken men, and it's easier. Something is easier to build stronger children than broken men. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that's my favorite quote is because I actually want to rewrite it, because I believe that we're mending broken men. And I believe that if we do mend broken men who are fathers, they in turn build the stronger children for the future.
Okay. Love that. And I appreciate you guys' mission. Favorite or most impactful book that you've had the opportunity to read?
Mine is The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach.
Mine is The Process of I, the letter I, written by a woman named Emily Maroshian.
And I got to say, for you, this must be a quite amazing book if you read 450.
This is my top favorite book, and for many reasons, not just because of what it did for me, right? Mm-hmm. But it definitely changed my perspective on mankind and the way that I interact with mankind. Mm-hmm. But it's an easy read. It's like 181 pages of just gold. Everything about it is, to me, is just something I believe that anybody could read.
Okay. And this is the question that nobody can escape the show with answering. Okay. So y'all ready for this?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What's 3 things that you would tell someone looking to create their best life? And if we can get 3 from both of y'all, that would be amazing.
All right. My first thing is invest. Mm-hmm. So not just financially, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest thing that really pains me is that everybody talks about this whole like diversity and inclusion. And then we are creating, like, okay, don't get me wrong, like, you know, building apps and things like that, like, that's great. Or teaching kids to code, like, that's amazing. But we are teaching our children or teaching people how to become employees for a company that we have no ownership in. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Okay. So we need to invest into ourselves, into our communities. We need to restructure ourselves in our communities and stop worrying about how the world is and worry about how we can impact the world as we are now, right? And so everybody keeps saying like, oh, we want a seat at the table. We want a seat at the table. No, we need to create our own table. And then if they want a seat at our table, then, you know, they can have a seat at our table if we allow them. But there's no reason why we can't be the next Google or the next Apple or the next eBay or whatever it is, or the next disruptive project that's coming, our disruptive technology that's going to take this country into like its next phase. So investing in ourselves and our communities is number 1. Number 2 is giving with the intent to grow. And that's growing spiritually, growing financially. If we give, the return is in the fact that we're giving, right? Not in receiving. So don't be intentional about like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to give them or I'm going to provide value to them because I know that they're going to provide value to me or that it's going to benefit me. That shouldn't matter because later on, it'll benefit you later on. But the benefit comes in the actual giving at that moment. And I think a lot of people tend to overlook that because they're always like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Rather than what can I do about it? And then the other one is collaboration over competition. It's enough piece of the pie out here for everybody. And it makes no sense for us to be fighting with our brothers and sisters when we can be collaborating with them to make a bigger fist and hit the blow mighty rather than just that one finger and we're just poking around.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are my 3.
So you took my third one. Right, but we kind of one mind. We do a lot of we talk about these types of things all the time. But another thing, like one that I will say,
what's your 3, man? What's your 3?
So I'm gonna give you my next 2. So my next 2 is self-realization. Right, I think it's important for you to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? And just to be aware of who you really are. And that's not something that the outside world could tell you. This is something that you have to kind of understand from the inside, right? And then authenticity, right? Self-realization leads to being authentic. And I believe that people we're all animals first off, right? We're just a higher consciousness of animals, but instinctually we can tell when people aren't being authentic, right? We can feel when things aren't authentic. And you know, I think a lot of us, especially as black people, we switch up. We get in the room we switch up. And I don't do that. I'm this guy every day, all day. You know, even if I'm mad at you, like, I'm gonna let you know I'm not mad at you, but I'm gonna still feed you, like, if you hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me, right? Like, I'm built like that. And I think it's important for us to be our most authentic selves. And then if I could, you know, give you a third one, since you said you need a third one, I think to live your best life is to find something you can't live without. Like, you got to find something that you're passionate about, someone that you're passionate about, that you cannot live without. Like, I cannot live without giving back to the population of men and women that taught me so much when I was in prison. I can't live without. Every day I wake up and I'm excited and I breathe this. I get text messages, phone calls from men and women in prison, and you know, some of it is things that I don't want to hear, and it makes me want to fix other problems. And some of it is just, man, we appreciate what you're doing for us. I'm never coming home, so don't let me down.
You got to find your why.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's my three.
Okay. So, what's next for y'all?
Global domination.
I love it.
Taking over the world, Pinky.
No, I think what's next for us is digital technology, marketing technology that will put concreates and the men and women behind bars in a position to be not only trying to catch up to some of these larger ad agencies, but to actually surpass them. You know, because I got tech transfer master over here. Right. We develop Commercializer. No question. We create new technologies that we can in turn license to, and I won't say what those things are or what they do, but that's what's next for us.
Okay. And then also bridging the gap for generational wealth for people who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated.
I mean, that.
I'm always about generational wealth in general, but specifically for concretes. Yeah.
We've literally figured out how to do that, and we're developing all of this in the same manner as we speak. So I'm not going to really speak about what that is, but
it's coming.
You can definitely expect. I'm talking about headlines being made from some of the stuff that we're developing right now.
Okay. So last but certainly not least, how can we keep in contact with y'all? What's our social media handles? Like, what's up if the family wants to get in contact with y'all and support? And
you know, if the fam want to get in contact with your girl, no. Janeya Griffin on all social media platforms. Concreates is CONCRE, the number 8 TES, and that's on all social media platforms as well.
And for me, I am Vincent Bragg on IG, and just my name, Vince Bragg on Facebook. But I am Vincent Bragg is my Twitter, everything else. So there it is.
Okay.
Or concreates.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Concreates.com. Don't forget that. Go check out the site. Hit us up and let's impact the world.
Let's impact the world. All right. Well, thank y'all both for being on here.
Thank you for having us.
Most definitely. And last thing, we're going to do this briefly, or quickly, shall I say. We got the turnaround. So this is where y'all become, and y'all are in charge of the interview.
Okay.
So y'all get to ask me any 3 questions that you would like, and I essentially have to answer them.
Good, because I have one that I've been dying to ask.
Create Your Life family. Y'all know how this goes. I don't know what they're going to ask me, so we're going to see how this, we're gonna make it do what it do. I'm all yours.
So one thing that I like to do is, I mean, everybody knows what my brand is and what we do. so we do talk about diversity and inclusion a lot, and I feel like the 70 plus million people walking around this country with criminal histories are excluded from a lot of this conversation in the tech space, in corporate America. What are you doing to include this population outside of this interview?
Outside of this interview,
or what do you plan to do to now include this population?
Now
I like the second part. I like the second part of your question, because to be honest with you, I guess what I was formerly doing was not being exclusive to anyone. And moving forward, I actually want to find out how I can work with y'all and help y'all on y'all mission to impact and help this community. I personally, have family and friends who have been impacted by being incarcerated. So therefore, to be able to know of a resource and know people who, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? I have someone who, I know people personally that could probably be of assistance to your venture and things like that. Then, being able to connect the dots and help y'all with y'all mission is where I'm at with it.
Okay. Y'all heard it here.
Trust, I'm a man of my word. If I say it, it's done. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I didn't sign up for this, did I? Got 1 minute.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't you give us your 3?
What is your why?
Jewels? Yeah.
What is your
why? That's a good one.
Why do I do
Always
this?
start with why.
I do this because I believe that you can literally become and create the life that you want. I did it. Coming from the Bay, growing up in foster care since I was 9 months old, I literally, for many, many moons, all I had was myself and a dream. And so for me, this started off actually as a YouTube video series where I was trying to show everybody other aspects of the world when I was in Japan so that they could see it and leave a block and go out and literally go and create the life that they want. And that's what it all was about to me, was helping everybody else, because I'm sitting here, I'm studying people's work ethics and things like that. And kind of like what I would call cracking the code is understanding, taking the game out of it and then utilizing it. So I'm like, how do I get people like yourselves on the show and really figure out how you do what you do so that somebody else could take it and then do the same?
No question. Or do it better.
Yeah, definitely do it better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank y'all again for being here on the show. Create Your Life family. It's been a great one, and we'll see you back next week. Beautiful people, if you enjoyed this episode of the Create Your Life series, be sure to download it from our podcast, which is available on createyourlifeseries.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Music. Also, be sure to leave a review of the podcast. You can catch us live on Sundays from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via 90.3 FM in New York, or on Facebook Live at facebook.com/KevBrown1. We encourage you to participate in the conversation on Facebook or call in at 212-650-6903. Follow us on Instagram at CYLS Series and at Kevin Y. Brown. Be blessed, and we'll see you back here live next week.
Create your life.
Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
Ontsteek jou lewe.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Create la vie.
Create your life.
Create your life.